just going to help our thing. There she is. If you want to scan it with your QR code and join us, otherwise the code is there as well, that you can go to menti.com, type in the code and interact with the session. Yeah, thank you, Howard, for the time that you put into these sessions, and thank you to everyone who joins. And over to you.
Okay, so Debs was a little bit, this was the first time in opening, so she missed a couple of slides, but not to worry. Just to say that the webinar will be recorded, as you know. When we finished doing the write-up and editing it, we will put a post on LinkedIn to notify you, and then please just comment on there to download, ask for the viewing of that. Again, happy to chat on LinkedIn. If you have any further questions, we can already see our free forever post that has been growing, and lots of people interacting it. Lots of people have asked for sign-ons onto it. And then at the end of this session, we will make the deck available. So it's now sitting at 150 slides. So you can certainly, then you'll be able to access the deck as well. We will share a Google Drive link and you'll be able to go from there. All right, so the next one, we're coming to the end of February. Next week is, here we are, February. Next, this is the last event for this month in terms of the DMMA for executives. There's a CDMP Q&A, and then pleased to note that Debbie just confirmed the refresh is not on. Can I confirm that?
Yes.
It has been postponed to next month. Okay.
Yeah, 6th of March.
All right. Okay, then we have, in terms of the training, we start with our BI and big data training. Next week, that runs from the 28th through to the 4th. I think there are still some seats there. If you have any questions and would like to ask about it, Debbie can answer that and give you the details. And then we've got March. Now, I must admit, March is quite hectic because it's not just it's all this information and training, but there's also International Women's Month. And what we're trying to do is have ladies present on every single webinar. Okay, so we normally have 9 webinars a month, and then we'll have all the different ladies presenting, Liesel Engelbrecht, and then Esty is going to take, with some help from me, Esty will take almost 4 of them. So Esty's got the big slice of the pie, but she's pretty good, so there's no problem there. Fantastic. Okay, so what I would appreciate if you guys have connected to that Menti link, Debs, just to share the code. That's that, and maybe just to go back a bit, if there it is there, 4034-8418. We have 3 people in, 2 people that are sharing their love, and 1 person that's clandestine. That is a little bit nervous. So, more loves. Fantastic. Debbie, you should manage that department with your hair. All righty. Okay, so today it's about justifying maturity. Okay, so one of the things that, again, it's the challenge that Doug Laney brought to us, and I really can attest to this because I was working with an insurance company, and they have set up a tech area. They bought an insurance company, but have added to that a tech element. And that this was the exact justification, is this book value, the increase on the book value. When you bring in tech, data management, and elements like that. So I can attest to this. I can see people driving that. I can see people wanting to be measured in that area. And I suppose my question is, what is the North Star for when we start the journey of maturity and we have the CDO exec, he's got to be saying, what is this all about? Where are we headed? And I would really goes to say that this is what we're looking at. We're looking for data savvy companies and, of course, data product companies. So for me, this is the important one. Now, for us to be able to provide data that the business case can be built on, we need to start collecting the data. And I believe the great place to start collecting data is the DMMA. And when we're measuring the data, then we can improve. And that's what all of this is about. So we're talking about the maturity movement to the data product. Please, the DMMA, if I get a level 3, 4, or 5, that doesn't mean that I'm a data product and a company and I look in a certain way. There was actually quite a nice question on LinkedIn this afternoon where someone says, how does data maturity materialize? How do you see it? How do you see a company that's got data maturity? And I don't think you can see a company with data maturity. I think you can see a company that has data as its foundations and that is providing data products and things like that. So, but the maturity is there to ensure that we're doing the right things to enable decision making based on data, to be able revenue and elements like that. So I don't see that. I'm happy if you believe I'm wrong. And would love to hear that. Okay, so the next thing that I'd like to do is just ask you in terms of how many people have actually been involved in establishing a business case and a business case for data management, not a business case for setting up a new business or running a new department. I'm wanting to understand, have you ever had to do this for a data management company or a data company? So if you wouldn't mind, I think you can see it now. If I'm not correct, there we go. So we've got one person that has been involved. Okay, so we've got some responsibles. So basically, the worst case is almost that you, not the worst case, but the important case is if you're a CEO and you held accountable for justifying what this business is all about and explaining it to. But if you're a CDO or an EIM manager, you would be accountable for the business case. Okay. So, and also just to note that I'm not saying this is a business case for DMMA. I mean, I think that's too minor to do, but it's for the establishment of data management. Okay, great. So we've got one person, almost one person that's been held accountable. We have a few people that have been responsible for the development of the business case, and the rest of us are either consulted and involved. So that's out of 8. All right. So that would help me in terms of understanding this. So what I did do is really put this, what are the elements of building a business case? Okay, what are the elements? Now, if you've done this before and you've been responsible or held accountable, this is your core element in terms of, why am I doing this? Why am I wasting your time going to meetings, discussing it, trying to get everything sorted out? It's that problem definition. Okay. And how do we quantify this? I have been involved in quite a few scenarios where we go and we go and almost establish an information management department. We do all of the setup, the operating plan and stuff like that. And then someone says, where's the business case for this? And why are we doing this? What is the justification for it? And I think this is critical, and you don't want to be on shaky ground without having a good understanding of your problem, letting the data share that with you, and then, of course, the risks. So this is the way I see it. I see that one of the things that you're trying to do is establish the impact of data management within your company. That was that previous slide where I said that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get a data savvy company or a data product company, whichever it may be. And I know a few people that are actually doing that. I can see people like Don that are are trying to establish that data product company. I think they're pretty data savvy at the moment, and it's moving that next level. Okay, so once you've got that vision and you're looking at the valuation of your business, we'll also look at valuation of data, but first of all, we're looking at how do we focus on the valuation of business. Then one would apply the DMMA to have a good understanding of the problems and the challenges that we're facing. We can also use the risk assessment part of the DMA to understand, well, due to the fact that my maturity is so low, what is the impact and what are the risks of having this low level of data management maturity? You know, if I'm going to sell data products and I don't know how to do proper data quality and curation of data and stuff like that, you know, all these type of things that are important, then where's that? What's the risk to the business of being sustainable? Once you've got through those assessments, then one starts looking at stakeholder engagement. Okay, so where are my stakeholders involved with this? What's their feeling towards that we're dealing with? And then, of course, the final thing is going to be, well, what's my idea? What am I? How do I feel this can work? And that's almost where we start to introduce the data strategy and budget. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, please shout. Okay, so this is the playbook that I put forward, the ones that I've used in terms of stringing this all together, trying to get that business case out the door. And I'm wanting to have a lot of data to be able to justify why we are in the state we're in and where do we need to be. Okay, so simple thing is where is the company now? Are we in a disabled state or are we in a data-centric state? And if we're in a data-centric state, then we should have that recognition by our stakeholders that data is an asset, and one wants to be able to answer that and position yourself as to can you get better or where you're sitting. Okay, so do you believe this is the role of the CDO to establish this? This is what I'm suggesting we do: is look at your current and target state, look at the state of interest or the lack of interest. Look at your business and data alignment, where you're currently sitting. And this is the process I use: business strategy, data, then application, then technology. Then we start setting up our sponsorship. We start looking for budget. We start understanding the cost of bad data, developing the business case, then setting up ownership. And then we keep on transforming the business, right? So building a data value chain, building a data product, more and more technology adoption to make it quicker, more effective, more efficient. And then an ongoing measurement of cost-benefit analysis and ROI. Now, I'm using digital transformation here for a specific reason. And the reason I'm finding is that lots of people are getting on this. Data is a core pillar to digital transformation. Fundamentally, I understand it to be the situation of automating and ensuring that everything within the business is running from a digital platform. No more paper, no more manual, wherever possible. And what we're trying to do is get almost a level of business automation in operations, automate the processes, automate the manner in which we accepting data, we're not manual, and how we're progressing with that. Okay, so that's the journey. That's the high-level journey. Okay, so I wanted to go to the next one. Is now almost say, I'd like to get some feedback. Now, what I've done is I've actually got one or two papers that did it in 2021. They did an assessment of the company's current maturity level. Now, please note that this is completely anonymous. There's no ways but I'm really keen to see how well our numbers, or the numbers that we're talking about here, actually fit the numbers that they've published in 2021. Lots of people ask me, what is the level of maturity within South Africa? What's the average within banking? What's the average within the different sectors? Now, that's certainly something we want to start collecting data on. that's some of the vision on doing sort of the free apps, and that is to say, well, what sector are you in, and how do you rate within that sector? Okay, great. So we have 5 people there. I'm trying not to rush it, as there are some important messages, and I'd like to balance this out to what the world is saying. Okay, 6. Any more people? Has Paul Grubler voted? Have you voted, Professor?
I just voted, yes.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, great. So let's have a look at what the statistics are saying for 2021. 2.61, and we just went down to 2. Damn. So all companies, and that level 2 is what is referred or known in the DMBOK as repeatable. Okay, so it goes absent is a level 0, then we have 1, which is ad hoc, 2 is repeatable. So that's quite interesting. Good to see that we're sort of in the same bracket there. And then the more interesting one is this aspiration. Wow. So we have higher aspirations, 3.6, and they're looking at a 3.7. And I can certainly, one of my advice, and I'm sure I've shared this with you when we were doing it, was that be careful on setting your aspirations too high. And if you look at the numbers now, we're sitting at 1.9 versus 3.5. That jump, or that aspiration jump, is quite high, and it's very high to go to that next level, to jump to on a next level, especially when you're sitting below that situation over there. But anyway, that's I really appreciate your response. That's an interesting view that we have. Okay, so we've sort of collected our state of the nation, state of the area, and we're sitting here at 1.9. One would have a guess that at this current level, we could pretty much guess what the next element's going to be, and that would be asking the business, well, how do you see data at the moment? So if you're at 1.9 and everything's ad hoc, the quality is not great, how do you think business are going to respond? And I'd love to now get your view here now in terms of as far as your business is concerned, as far as you're concerned, how do you see you operating? Data is a necessity. Okay, that's great. Critical data is an asset, so that means probably your master data or some of your really important transactional data or time series data. Okay. All right, it's a pity I don't have percentages here. I'll have to do those statistics. So we just got a few more. Maybe if you can get to 12 like we did the last time, that would be great. But I can sort of progress a little bit further. So wow, so this is quite impressive in terms of what we're seeing here. So if we look from a worldwide point of view, data is a necessity. That's the 19%, and ours is almost is quite a lot bigger, right? And so sure, that one's interesting. Then we've got strategic enablement. That's 33%. Okay, that looks sort of where we're operating at. Critical data, that's regulatory report, is viewed as an asset, so it's just the critical data. And then we've got this differentiator, that there's a competitive differentiator. That's quite great. It's nice to be in those type of companies where people know that data is important. That's what's going to keep them going, and that's an important capability. Now, almost your business case is going to speak for itself, because the business case for the company is about setting up competitive differentiation. Okay, so The good part of it is 23 of the respondents stated that data is seen as a driver. The bad part is only 1 in 5 could put hard and soft values on their data. This goes back to the chat that we had with Doug Laney, right? So you know, and this is a lot of what people are saying, or some of the challenges is yes, we understand the cost of data. So we understand the cost of data management, EIM, looking after the data, that we understand. But we're not seeing it as a revenue. We haven't gone into that situation. Okay. Okay, so the next one that we now need to, now that we've developed that understanding, let's go to the next one. So how would you rank your stakeholder engagement in data management? So you know, is everyone bought into it, or are we getting driven by the top? For example, in Saudi Arabia, the crown prince is driving data. There you see a really impressive level of engagement all the way from the top to the bottom. And just the effort they're putting in to establish data management offices. And interestingly enough, when I talk to them, not one of them have done a business case. Okay, not one of them have actually had to worry about a business case. They've been told this is the way you got to do it, and that's what's happening. Okay. Wow. Okay. It's a little bit worrying looking at those numbers, because it's always sort of contradicts my view. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's look at the way the world has looked at that. Okay, so that's interesting. So only by some, that's the largest percentage. We were also there. Wow, it's amazing to see that. Then the next largest one is widely viewed as beneficial by our stakeholders. There we are again. So our numbers are looking similar. Thank you, guys. I was quite interested in looking at how valid this review is, and I'll actually send some of the results back to them today. Paul, what? any points from?
Yeah, it's cool to it's interesting to see that it resonates.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when we talk a lot about this stuff, we feel in our beings that data has high value, but often on customer sites it's just a few actually, and most people don't care.
Great, and I think what I kept on coming up with is, when you're battling with this type of engagement, now you have to really get the strength of your business case to speak. You need that business case in there, and of course that helps you set your vision and everything like that. Okay, all right, let's keep on going. And how's this? This was actually in one of the in one of the papers, in one of the areas, is they actually did a case study of South African life insurance company, and as they dug deeper into this thing, they just saw there was no business value. That was the understanding. Now, this is where business and data alignment start to come about. And there's such an amazing, and I really, at some stage, I'd love to give you guys a talk on the Amsterdam alignment model, that 9-cell model, in terms of how do you manage alignment from your business strategy to your data strategy to your application to your tech strategy. How do you look at the alignment and the maturity? So I think that's important. So it's not just the DMMA, but you also need to look at this alignment. You've got to pay more attention in understanding how you link up to your business strategy. Okay, so that's interesting. So I'd like to see you guys in terms of how do you rank yourself now in the progression of your data strategy. And I'd love to ask a few people that how's their data strategy going? Nice to see in progress now. Okay, nice. Things really jump around when you've only got one or two people, one or two votes. Okay, oh, nice. Wow, nice to see that alignment. And any I wish I could, shucks, I don't think I've enabled comments on it, but I'd love to hear your comments in terms of how do you know that your data strategy is aligned with your business strategy? Anyone, there are a few that have answered yes. Anyone would be able to explain how they measure that alignment? Not too many people want to offer that. Okay. I just seen Patricia. Patricia, won't you please stay on the end of the meeting? I just got some feedback for you. Marcel, have you measured your alignment? I saw your hand go up. Is there a question or?
No, maybe from our perspective, we measure the business unit strategy directly against the organizational strategy. So
Okay.
there's a direct alignment between those two.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah, that's important, and I think you've got that nice scenario where each department has a commitment to a certain aspect of the strategy. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Marcel. Thanks for that input. Okay, so let's have a look at where we're sitting in the world, or in comparison to the world. 54% in progress now. Well done. we nicely aligned. It would be nice to be yes, but that's where we are. Then it's almost the next biggest one is yes. Okay, so we're a little bit lower down there, and then we then have no coming out. That's the 14%. Yes, and we're reporting progress. So that's always a good one in terms of saying, nice, you've got this data strategy. But for example, if your data strategy uses SWOTs, how many SWOTs have you completed in the last 3 months? How many have you sorted out? And a SWOT could represent a friction or an opportunity. So what sort of friction is your business having with data, and how do what actions do I take to address it? And how do we go and move forward and take care of the opportunities? Nice. And then we have reporting progress, so that's not great. I'm battling to see the colors here. There it is over there. So they've got a very small number of people that are aligned with their strategic aims. Wow, that's impressive. So we're getting our alignment a lot better. Fantastic. Okay. All right. So how do we correct the lack of interest? How do we go about fixing the lack of interest? So typically the lack of interest will manifest itself by the fact that you don't have any budget. And the way to address this thing, the way to resolve it at the right level is having a powerful business case. Okay. So a business case that would justify to the people what it is that they've got to do, and how they have to progress. Now, what's interesting in the statistics that they've represented is they see that you increase your business engagement. Now, a lot of these stats are around data governance, but I actually felt that it's more appropriate to talk about data management, because we're not just measuring data governance, we're measuring all aspects of data management. Okay, so 90%, 97% of companies lack a good business case. Okay, now that's going to be exposed by the fact that we'll have a low level of budget, formalized budget. Okay, so let's see how we're doing with that. Okay, so what are the answers? Where are you guys sitting on the budget side of it? And I know just from experience, and then Marcel's here, is that getting that budget justifying it, especially when you start introducing technology. There can be lots of ups and downs, especially with the amount of money that it's going to justify. So it's not easy. Okay. That's nice in a way. What's happening to us is we don't have this fixed budget in the beginning of the year. As new projects come on, the data management budget may increase. Hopefully it doesn't decrease. I have seen that once or twice. Increase depending on business priorities. We had a scenario where in one of the companies that I worked for, we sort of had this budget allocation. Then all of a sudden we had a new stakeholder. They basically said they didn't think too much of these enterprise-wide projects, and they wanted business-specific projects. So they basically chopped a lot of that dedicated budget. They said, when we have a project, then we'll allocate money. Okay. All right. So we've got 9, still another 3. But let me go on so we can get to the end. Okay, so let's have a look at it. Wow, so we actually doing a lot better there. So the worst case is when we have no budget, that's sitting at 33%. Interesting, we a lot lower. Okay, the next level is IT central budget. We even sort of no, sorry, sorry, I'm getting it wrong. 37% existing project budget. So that's sort of where we were. Oh, we were in the top, and now it's sort of come down. No. Sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay, so that's where we're sitting at existing projects. There's 37%. Then we've got 33% have no budget. That's quite different to us. Then we go down to 16%. That's almost at an IT level. There's a central IT budget. And then we've got a dedicated budget. Wow, so that's 9% worldwide, and we're sitting almost at the top with our dedicated budget. Interesting. Okay. Thanks everybody. Thanks again for that feedback. Notice I did cross out this data governance. So we're not comparing apples and apples that may be specifically related to data governance, but so I have changed that definition. Okay, so once we've got this sort of okay, so the next question that we're going into is data valuation. So now that you've sort of had an understanding of what budget are you sitting at, one of the important reviews that you want to do is to see, well, how are we valuing our assets? What is the approach that we're using to valuing the data that we have? So there's one person with hard and soft dollar values, so that would make Doug Laney proud, where we can see all those measurements. How many other people are there? So that's almost what we're talking about is revenue based. So people are able to see it from a revenue point of view. I know lots of us and lots of the figures I've worked in where it's considered in terms of cost. So what's the cost of data quality? What's the cost of lack of maturity? What's the cost of bad data management? That's that James Price one. What are all the impacts of those type of things? Okay. Wow. So we're quite advanced in the valuation. But our hard and soft is quite a bit lower. Okay.
There's not an option for no valuation is being done.
No, that's true. That's true. I missed that one. My apologies, Paul. So did you mark it invalid? Or did you abstain? Did your voting abstain?
I should have, but I guessed some other values when I think of some of my clients.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so let's have a look at it. The top one for us is considered, the costing or valuation is considered in reduced cost, where they have their largest is data value has been calculated for some projects. Okay, and we're sitting sort of pretty low down on that one. The biggest one is data value is considered only in terms of cost. Ours is not really operating at that level. Then we've got data is considered in reduced cost, increased revenues, reduced risk, increased revenues, and reduced costs, and all. Okay. So ours has turned around quite a bit, and then they got 9%. And I'd love to do the numbers at the end to see how many actually voted in terms of hard and soft. Okay, so 63% of the respondents only considered the cost of data or only measured for values, some value for certain projects. Here we can see this is some projects and cost. Okay, so we're quite different there. Okay, so this is, I think this is, and I know I teach a lot and I share that a lot in terms of saying it's amazing what happens to the organization when they start to implement data valuation. Okay, irrespective of how good that data valuation is, as soon as you start with it, then you start to get the business to start thinking about, can we make money out of it? Can we reduce our costs? Can we be more effective? So here is Neil Berger. I think that's the way you said it. He's the one who published these results. So I'd just like to thank him for doing that work, and I'll give him the feedback. And basically, his comment is, competitive differentiation with data is a great aspiration. So we said we wanted to be there. Data is your most unique enterprise asset, but if you only view its value in terms of costs, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Exactly the message that Doug Laney gave us. Okay, so the data is coming through. Where are we now? Okay. So I'll have to convert our numbers to percentages and share that data with you. Okay, so the next one we've got is the next level, or the next instrument that we're wanting to use to change the culture in the organization. And we use data ownership to help us change that, right? So one of the metrics that you can use to understand maturity and culture in people is starting to look at the ownership ranking. So we'd love to get your feedback on that. Central team owns the data, and roles are allocated. Okay. Anybody? Okay. All business data elements have a business data owner. Nice. Nice. Kudos. Okay, most data. No one. I was expecting a bit more from the no one department and the IT department. Those are sort of what my experiences have been. It's considered by business that it's an IT ownership thing. They own the databases. That idea of custodianship hasn't fully sunk in, and sometimes it's actually hard to get it away from IT. They feel that this is their responsibility. This is what justifies their role. Okay. All right. So let's see how we compare. There are a few more coming. Sometimes it confuses me, but let's see how we compare. Okay, so their highest is 33%. Business users have been assigned as data owners for most data. Okay, wow. So we're not our highest ranking is there. They have no one at 16%. We've got no one a little bit higher. Okay, so they're a little bit more mature on going through that transition of going from IT, no one owned, IT owned, business users owned. That's the transformation. And then there's maybe a centralized team as well. sometimes when ownership causes negative connotations, and then some people can introduce the central team. So it's the company that owns the data, it's not the individual. All right. Okay, so that's great. Thank you very much for all of that. It's really nice. I'll do some of the numbers and present it back. So just to recap, basically what we're saying, what are the inputs? We need to collect and document the data. Now, the DMMA is fantastic like that. And the SWOT analysis with the data strategy. And there we would do, what are the users struggling with, the importance of improving data accessibility, action plan, roadmap. And typically when you do a roadmap, you're going to be doing a readiness assessment. But do I have the budget? Do I have the sponsorship? Do we have the right levels of skills and right communities to handle some of our knowledge management? Do we have appropriate applications and technologies? And then effort prioritization. Okay, so we've collected all this data, we've done all these assessments, we now have to use that data to help us prioritize the efforts. And of course, the nice thing is to, in a way, I like to separate them in two. One is addressing your urgent issues like your data quality and stuff like that, that's a mess, and the other one is addressing innovation. It should not be one or the other. And I've certainly seen people that you ask them, and I like to use that analogy from America where they said, are you when you have a strategy in your football team, is it offensive or defensive? Defensive would be quality driven. Get myself sorted out, make sure I'm compliant, get all the risks sorted out. And then offensive is when you take on the opportunities. Okay, so you want to sort of run those together and work together. Now, what that case is going to bring, the business case has to say, this is the case for change. Guys, this is why we need to change. And we now have to address it in terms of human and cultural change. There's both our stakeholder engagement and the skills that we have, the data management change. Do we want to achieve compliance? Is that our driver? Do we want to achieve a leader level data maturity that we're on the top? Is it about business process change? There I bring in the digital transformation. Do we have lots of challenges that lots of our processes are manual, and COVID woke us up with this one, where those manual processes were really hard when you're in lockdown. Then what is your application and technology change? How do I have to go from basically being application driven to data and AI driven, and the data platforms? How do we sell this thing? So we need to be paying attention. And then what we have to talk about is aspirations versus reality. So that's what the current maturity level states, how we're going to get to the ideal or the aspiration. Where do we want to be? Now, the nice thing about all of this journey, when you go through it all, you create a lot of your most important deliverables for a program. That's your DMA, your data strategy, your stakeholders, business alignment, tech alignment, ownership. Now, at this stage, you've just got a desire. You haven't actually converted that and allocated them all. You've got data value, a value chain with some valuation. You've got a business case. You've got a budget, and now you've also got some measurements of how effective your data strategy is, or your program is, using cost benefit analysis or ROI. Okay, so that's the benefit you get out of all of this thing. It starts with the DMMA, and that's what you want the DMMA. Yes, Debbie.
Hi, I know I'm a slide late, 2 slides late, but I wanted to ask her, why is data ownership so important?
Okay. So I didn't go through all of these different comments over here, and this is that crucial role. The data owner takes responsibility and plays a crucial role in data management. And it's not just data governance, because there's getting data quality right, getting the metadata right, making sure it's understandable, making sure that we got data products. That's the data owner's role. And the important thing is that we've got the buck stops with that data owner. Okay. Now I've seen scenarios where we have multiple data owners spread across departments, and that happens. But you want to get to the buck stops here scenario. If there's a problem, the person has got enough authority to change and fix the problem. Does that answer your question, Dev?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, fantastic. Great. That's a really, you know, if we can get that mindset change, if people take on that responsibility, and I must admit there are sometimes when people take on the responsibility out of just a complete frustration with IT to say, these guys aren't getting it right, I need to grab this thing and I need to run with it. That may be a different scenario, especially when you now want to bring in data platforms and data sharing and stuff like that. So that may be a negative effect, but let's not worry too much about that use case. Okay, so we back to the summary. This is what this talk has been about. To get this business case right, we need to be able to quantify our problem. What are the challenges? What are the causes? We need to do a risk assessment. What happens if we don't do this? We need to have a look at our impact, both positive and negative. Okay, do we have a possibility of being non-compliant? Stakeholder engagement, and then strategy and budget. That's sort of the elements that we need to look at. That's why we're trying to build this business case. All right, so that's the end of the talk. If there is any feedback, I'm not sure if you can actually, are there any, is it allowing you to answer questions, or did I miss that slide? Anyway, doesn't need to come with Menti.
Sorry, I didn't see any questions on Menti.
Or you can't enter a comment. There's a word cloud there that I just wanted to get some feedback. I'm assuming you guys can't enter that.
Right now, I see the business case journey playbook. Is that what you intend to show?
I was actually looking for some feedback. So just checking, can you enter anything there, or you can't put like a comment or something?
You can enter words.
That's what I was looking for. I just wanted to see if anyone's got some feedback. What did they think of the journey, what they have to do, how we linking up to, or how we comparing to the international summary. Any comments?
Howard, I missed in the beginning. Who produced those graphs that you showed?
It's that. This is the. I'll actually show. Cognopia or something. It's Cognopia.
Interesting.
Cognopia. That's Neil Burge. No, I'm actually connected to him on LinkedIn, but when I saw this, I thought, oh, shucks, I've never. So that's the company over there. Cognopia.
Oh. Interesting.
And I haven't seen many people do it across the whole. I mean, they had case studies of Australia, they had case studies in South Africa, they had case studies in America. So it was quite impressive to see the extent of the inputs.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting to see the size of the companies, in what tier they are, tier 1, tier 2, and where they typically are at.
Yes.
Most of these things focus on, obviously, companies that are big and can probably do something with their data. Smaller companies perhaps won't be able to.
I think that's an interesting point, and I know Don is on a journey. They very agile, very small, able to operate and link it to their strategy. So sometimes I think that small company can really benefit and elevate that pretty quickly. Don, how are your answers on that?
No, I absolutely agree with everything you've said, Howard. I guess maybe I should weigh in it with the challenge. I think the challenge for a small group is that, particularly for us, where we are hoping to actually not just leverage data as an asset, but also use it as a source of revenue.
Yeah.
Your challenge is how much, if you're small, to invest, and how often to recalibrate your data strategy because of changes in the environment and changes in what you're hoping to offer, which then impacts what kind of data you might want and how the technologies you'll need to be able to access and process data.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Don. Then we've got another question. Paul, did that sort of answer your? Did it give you some answer?
Yeah, I'd like to know more about what Don
Don is doing some amazing stuff, and I did post on last time just in terms of he publishes graphs every morning. So if you want to just connect it on and watch, I mean, I'm actually thinking of almost doing a economic data literacy thing with all the graphs that Don publishes and say, how do you read this? What are you seeing? So Don, I think that daily publication is nice to look at and read.
Cool.
So maybe I could just do a quick plug for we're launching an open data platform, and basically the intention would be for anyone to be able to do that, to take data that's in the public domain and access it both programmatically and using downloading the data manually, everything that's in the public domain. So we're making good progress, adding a lot of data sources that are currently available and hoping to unearth some new ones to add. So the hope would be to partner with other groups to add more public domain data to it, to enable researchers and users to access big data.
Okay, and yeah, that was certainly Paul. I had someone come from EY saying, please give me statistics on how much data is being used in Africa by region. They're looking to see some of the uplift with respect to 4IR, and it's a case of I can't find a lot of this stuff. I'm looking around for this. Surely it's going to be a measure that we should be looking at, but that's the challenge. Now, Valerie, I saw your hand was up. Was your question?
Yeah, I have a question, Howard. So speaking about maturity, what I've discovered so far, however how solid my business case is, however strong and convincing are my statements, I mean, to myself primarily, and maybe some of the stakeholders, but it takes some minimum level of maturity for data owners. Yeah. All right. To hop on this train, and the question is, how do I go about measuring or assessing this maturity? I mean, owner maturity. It's more about person, right? It's yes. Not about organization. So how this should be not even like phase 0 of this whole exercise. It may be it's like pre phase 0, something like this. So what do you think? How should I go about this issue? Thank you.
Okay, no, that's great. And I actually see that you should be including data ownership in your DMMA to understand your current level and your target level. Now, what is important there is that ability to come down to a low level of delivery in your DMMA to say, how well is my data ownership? Do I have accountability? Have people take accountability? And then what I like to introduce is the speed at which we are dealing with issues, and the challenge around that. So what you're trying to get is to say, by data owner, how many issues do you have with your data? How effective is it? And then, of course, your data valuation and the involvement on that is going to start to give you an understanding of how well your owners are performing.
Probably responsiveness might be another metric for this.
Yes, so I worked with Christine Iotis, and she does change management. And she was the one that showed me how they do a stakeholder engagement assessment. And that would almost be sort of what you're looking for, is in terms of saying, these data owners, they are part of our core stakeholders. What is the engagement like with data management of the data that they own? Or have they just allocated everything to their stewards and say, you get on with it, you do it? Or are you leading? Are you actively involved in improving the data? So that's, and I can share with you some spreadsheets and that she does. And she has a group of people that review stakeholder engagement, and she would then go and talk to the lead stakeholders and say, and it's part of that stakeholder engagement map, Valerie. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, but you know how you do that stakeholder engagement map, where you have your people that are positive, the strong influences, and then you have techniques of moving the people between the different quadrants. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
I would love to see something like that.
Okay, I'll share some of that with you. It's a very helpful. We keep saying change is important, but I know I personally don't pay enough attention to it. I always prefer it when I've got someone like Christine with me, and she's constantly having the coffee sessions, talking to the stakeholders, measuring their engagement, understanding their skills and how do we improve it. That's what she focuses on.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Great skill. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I saw. Okay, so these are the sort of comments. Good comparison. Thank you very much. Nice to see the on-track people. Fantastic. Keep going. Business case. How many people are coming up to needing to or having to do a business case at the moment? Just from a hands up point of view, have we got a few people that are looking at it, and this is just in time for them? Not too many. Okay. Patricia, you did some business cases. Okay, but not currently busy. How have you found that, Patricia? What's your experience been like with business cases? Thanks, Don. Excellent. Okay, guys. Debs, I think you want to close off. You want to stop the recording?
Sure. Thank you so much, Howard. Really appreciate it.